Hello everybody, welcome to your patron-only video of the week. This is a little bit delayed. As you know, I'm in the process of selling my house and moving. And man, this is more than I expected, more difficult than I had expected, but I may have some news soon. I don't want to jinx myself, so I'm going to knock on wood. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to say any more. Okay, moving on. All right, let's talk about Rubin's Train. I am in G. I got a lot of emails and I had a lot of chats with some students about the last episode of Banjo Quest, where we're deconstructing a melody and we're trying to dance around it and draw it out to create a mood and a vibe and just to put our own stamp on the sound. I wanted to go into more depth because a couple of you have mentioned that you try to do it, you like the idea of working without a recipe like tab or a recording, but when you're confronted with all these choices, you get a little bewildered and it feels difficult and nothing good comes out of it. Well, I used to be that way too, so I share that with you. It's not easy, but you need to keep trying. One of the things to think about is, this is how I think of it anyway, instead of getting all music theoried out on it or looking at scales or any of that stuff, I just want to show you an intuitive way of finding what the melody is doing and then sort of exploiting what that is doing or dancing around the melody. This is an idea that I've been using for a really long time because my brain isn't mathematically driven. I'm very much driven by visuals and colors and sounds, not necessarily mathematical formula or numbers of notes or which note in the scale. It's not the way my mind naturally thinks. So I think in terms of the sounds that I'm making instead. And I think in terms of constellations of notes or shapes. Again, this reference to visual ideas because that's how I remember these things. So let's look at Rubin. So we've got our basic version of Rubin. All right, so what do I mean by constellations? So I've got this shape, those notes. Now with those notes, I can start playing games, and I want to just not think about making the tune square, or making it line up, or make it even so that anybody else can play it with me, because that's not the idea behind this exercise. I want to just play with these notes that I've shown you in this constellation of Rubin. So let's take the first one. That's our 2nd fret, 2nd string. That dissonant sound is so pretty, and I'm going to just play with that for a minute, and I'm going to be using basic left-hand techniques to do it. Our 3 families of left-hand techniques, of course, are hammer-on, pull-off, and slide. So I'm going to use each of those in that order, hammer-on, pull-off, and slide, to tease that melody out of just that note, these 2 notes, and using the rest of the open banjo string. So let me show you what I mean. So what did I say? Hammer on, pull off, and slide? All right. So let me show you what you can do with a hammer on. I'm going to start with my grounding, my alternate string pull off, but I'm going to show you an alternative to that after this if you can't do this well. All right, here we go. That's a nice pattern right there, using a hammer-on. All right, let's use a pull-off. I like that too. All right, now our slide. Now our slide has to go somewhere, but we know from that earlier discussion of the constellation that we have this 3rd fret note. And we've been playing Rubin, so we know there's a slide in there, so let's play with that slide. Let's add a reverse slide in there. Again. I like that a lot. I love reverse slides. Very cool. All right. Now there's some simpler ways to do this too. Check this out. If I am not comfortable doing an alternate string pull-off like this, I can do a double thumbing pattern. Let me slow it down for you beginners. This is a double thumbing pattern on strings 3 and 1. Now I can do the same thing. I can play with the hammer on, pull off, and slide. So check this out. Here's pull off. Slide. Now you can start, let me introduce this alternate string pull off back, and now I can start mixing and matching, okay? So check it out. And it's pretty mechanical what I'm doing, nothing really creative, just throwing in these left-hand techniques, but it's a start towards creative play around that constellation of the Rubin melody. At least that's how I think about it when I'm exploring. Now, would I get up and play this tune in front of people like this? Probably not, unless I had vocals to center it. My ears, and I think a lot of people agree with me, watching somebody noodle, even if they're really great, gets a little tedious after a while, which is why for me, vocals are such a central part of how I think about old time music and the banjo. I get a little bit bored with instrumentals. So you know, take that for what it is. You may disagree, and that's totally fine. If you love instrumental banjo pieces, then play it up, do it up. But just make sure that you get to somewhere. I think that's the key. You don't want to be noodling forever on this tune. You want to be able to get to the melody eventually. And of course, if you are not comfortable singing and you want to do this at an open mic night, it makes a fine instrumental. Just keep it short, keep it punchy, and really develop your arc, get in and out real quick, and be done. At least that would be my approach if I weren't going to sing the tune. Speaking of singing, we will be singing with Rubin very shortly. I'm working on a special arrangement for you guys that will be dropping very soon. And we will also later this week be learning how to blow the train whistle with the banjo. I'm going to teach you guys 2 ways of making train whistle sounds on your instrument. It's going to be kind of a fun, lighthearted Banjo Quest episode this week at the end of the week. And I'm also going to try to get another patron-only video this week because I kind of was a little bit delayed with last week. Anyway, the content is going to keep coming. Don't you worry. Keep your fingers crossed for me, guys. Send out some good vibes. Hopefully this is all going to work out well. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time on Banjo Quest.